What up, party people? It's your boy Hakeem Green, Channel Live and Direct. BDP all day, every day. All we do is spark mad ism. You are here with your man once again on another episode of Madism TV. This is promised to be a special one, very informative. We're gonna get some cultural gems from a cultural icon. I'm gonna bring him in right now, the brother Rocky Bucano, Executive Director of the Universal Hip Hop Museum. What's up, Rock?
What up, Hakeem?
Yes, sir. Yeah, this is dope. This is dope, man. I'm so glad you carved out some time in your busy schedule to take some time with Madism TV and kind of bring us up to speed as to what's going on with the Universal Hip Hop Museum, which is such an important endeavor for the culture. Salute, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, before we get deep into it, I got a video queued up off the last album project I dropped called Madism Who Want to Smoke. The song is called I Believe, Put It in the Air, featuring Carl Thomas. I'm gonna let that run. That'll give us some time to invite some folks, get them into the conversation so we have a nice audience and we can make sure these jewels that you're about to drop get around. So yes, with that said, I'm gonna add this to the stream. All right, folks.
Social distancing and other mitigation measures they've put in place. The president's been itching to begin easing the nationwide guidelines meant to stem the outbreak and contain the economic fallout. Well, the weekly jobless numbers are out, and they are a staggering show of the early impact of the new coronavirus on the economy. Around 3.3 million people filed for unemployment in the past week, far exceeding the previous record from 1982.
This goes out
that I will use my right for the right
on my smoke, my dab,
I believe that I'll choose this fight for the right to be free.
Set up that
hookah. I believe I'll treat tonight like it's 420.
Madism in effect, hip hop changed the game. Everybody smoke good, my grower changed the strain. I used to smoke for the thrill, now I do it for the pain. I stay pushing weight, I do it for the gains. It's like a revolution, Prince with purple rain. Purple kush, purple haze, like cheese in a maze. So I put lights in the tunnel, LEDs supply the rays. All we do is spark Madism, that shit is all the craze. Remember back in the days, trade bags of haze from the corner bodega. Poppy put it in some lays. It was rhymes in a cipher with blunts in the air. Then off with a shorty couch locked in a chair. My shorty look exotic, weed kinda rare. She said the weed was erotic with smoke in the hair. Isn't makes the time go by, life without a care. So roll it up, light it up, put it in the air.
I believe in happy faces, yes, this is true. Love is just for special people, yes, just like you. If you're reaching for the stars, you know you can do anything you want to if you just get into the I believe that I will use my right for the right to be me. I believe that I'll choose this fight for the right to be free. I believe I'll treat tonight like it's 420.
I get redder than red men when it's time to Johnny Blaze. I get pounds from Sugar Hill, I get dimes from Sugar Rays. I keep the aromatic, it's a passion, not a habit. Akeem go with green, it's like carrots go with rabbits. It's so automatic how the weed gets lit. Duplicate the seed, clones get clipped. Hawk, what you puffin' on? I know that ain't the piff. Wedding cake and gelato, huh? Wanna lick? I got flavors, pump flavors, they call me Flavor Flav. Gorilla Glue number 4 and Super Haze. Afghani in the cough, sour diesel gets me off. I'm looking for a rental property, something like a loft, so I can grow these trees just in time for Christmas. Saint Nick with the gift list, I know you wanna hit this. Look for Madism when it's time to light a flare. Then roll it up, light it up, put it in the air.
I believe in happy faces, yes, this is true. Love is just for special people, yes, just like you. If you're reaching for the stars, you know you can do anything you want to if you just get into the groove. I believe that I will use my right for the right
government. The Trump administration says they hope to start rolling them out in 3 weeks. The payments are based on your latest tax filing. Individuals who earn $75,000 or less will get $1,200.
Yes. That was I Believe, Put It in the Air by your man Hakeem Green, featuring Carl Thomas. Produced by DJ Heron. Video directed by myself and the homie Shock B, with consultation from the legendary Benny Boom. And that's what that is. I Believe, Put It in the Air. Yes. Thank you, Rocky. I appreciate you, bro.
Dope video.
Yeah. Thank you, fam. Thank you. So, today's show conversation is focused on the brother Rocky Bucano, the executive director for the Universal Hip Hop Museum. I got that right? That's the correct title?
That is my title, even though
much more. Yeah, much more.
I don't like titles, but that's my title.
But from what I've seen, you and some others are the heart and soul to this whole vision and to this whole thing, and it's a beautiful thing to see. Like it's a we're gonna get into that. I want to spend the first part of our conversation really talking about you, though. In terms of the culture, I have you listed as the hip hop culture icon, and I think it's important for folks to understand the cultural impact of hip hop. I have this hashtag called Hip Hop Nobody Rapping, because we get caught up in rap music business, which in my humble opinion, is not hip hop. It's the music business.
Music business, yes.
So if you could take us back to the early days, like where you from, where do you represent, and then at what point do you get involved in what we call hip hop culture? So
I'm from the Valley, which is in the northeast section of the Bronx, and Valley has a very famous park called Hafen Park, but we call it Valley Park for those people who live up in that part of the Bronx. The Valley's, situated across from Co-op City, not too far from Edenwall, near Boston Secor, near Eastchester Project. So it's in that situation over there. And I started DJing when I was probably around 14, 15 years old, 1974. My cousin is Pete DJ Jones. So when I first saw him, my sister invited him to do a backyard barbecue, and I was just a teenager. And here comes this guy who I heard on the radio, because at that time he was the top dog.
Okay.
His name was always on WBLS, and WBLS was the station at that time. There was no Hot 97, there was no Kiss FM, it was just BLS. It was either BLS or the AM station WWRL.
Yeah. Well, people don't know what AM stations are. That's like that's like an A-track. No idea.
I was talking to somebody the other day, and actually our chairwoman Nana, and she was talking to some students, and she was trying to tell them about how records got played on the radio, and they were like, "What's a radio?" So we're living in a different time and day.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's all good. It's all part of history. It's all part of what people need to know. They need to they need to understand how hip hop wasn't always played 24 hours a day on the radio. And like you said, it's the music and the commercialization of the culture is what they hear now on the radio. Yeah. But back then, we were just doing things for fun. I was a DJ and a club promoter. And my first job was at the Stardust Ballroom, which is, a disco club in the Bronx. But, what people forget is that, during that time period, there was no hip hop. It was all disco. If you look on all the flyers, it was disco this, disco that, disco everything. And even though we weren't playing disco records per se, 'cause I didn't play, Giorgio Moroder and that kind of. I was playing James Brown and Kool and the Gang and the Bar-Kays.
So I'm sorry not to interrupt you. Just for the viewership out there, just to understand, it was like this disco was what I guess today we call house music or techno music. It was upbeat, fast. I mean, it was singing and instrumentation, live instrumentation on a lot of the early disco records, but it was up tempo kind of. But then you had like, I guess Manhattan, like say Giorgio Moroder, the Diana Ross, the Donna Summer, but then you had, you know, Uptown or Outer Boroughs out in Jersey. We were calling disco, and it was really like funk, soul, rhythm and blues mixed in whatever popular disco record was at the time. If I'm right,
you're absolutely correct.
Okay.
But here's the kick, and what people don't understand: a lot of the break beats that came out that we were playing in the parks were disco records.
Wow.
People don't understand that. DC LaRue, Indiscreet, one of the biggest disco records, was one of the biggest break beats.
Wow.
Right? You know, Bruce Johnson, Pipeline, another record that we used to play, another big disco record, you know. So people get mistaken by thinking that, you know, when we were playing the break beats, we were just playing obscure music that we would find, you know, that no one else was playing. These were bona fide disco hits, and we just took the little bits of the break in those disco records and made them part of our program for just programming the beats.
Now,
and that's an important thing for people to know.
Well, now to that point, in terms of the break, right? The break part of the record and how instrumental the break is to hip hop culture. Talking to Grand Mixer DXT about the B-boy and B-girl, you know, from his point of view, that is the thing that creates what we know hip hop culture, the focus on dancing during the break part of the beat, and then the culture that grew out of that. Can you elaborate on that for me?
Yes. So there's 5 elements of hip hop. There's the MCs, there's the DJs, there's the B-boys and the B-girls or the breakers. There's the aerosol artists or the graffiti artists, you know, what people call graffiti. And then the last element, knowledge. Now we got so many other elements, beatboxing and fashion and all these other elements that got added on. But the break beat was the part where people went what they call the get down or going off. And every time, you know, either Kool Herc or Flash or myself or anyone that was just playing break beats at that time, you know, that's the type when the MC would get on the mic and start rhyming, and the dancers would start doing their thing on the floor, you know, doing their back spins or going down and, you know, doing their freezes. The early days, the early B-boys, big shout out to Sasa and Clark Kent, the Herculoids from Kool Herc and them.
Not Clark Kent, the DJ.
Not Clark Kent, the DJ.
The DJ. There's another.
But you know
Clark
what?
Kent.
The original Clark Kent was not only a B-boy, he actually became one of Kool Herc's other DJs. So he moved from being a dancer to becoming a DJ as well. Wow. But don't get it mixed up with my other boy, Clark Kent, who's, you know, doing the quarantine thing now with D Nice and you know, the sneaker king, I call him.
Yeah, who's another like historian par excellence.
Yes,
like Clark Kent is like he knows so much. But I'm sorry, not to interrupt.
No. So you know, the breaks in songs like James Brown, Give It Up, Turn It Loose, Dennis Coffey, Scorpio, Apache Bongo Rock, all those songs were basically what kids, you know, got excited for. They waited for those songs to come on. And when they came on, that's when you can see everybody really, you know, getting really amped up and excited. So as DJs, you know, you had to strategically know when to throw those songs on because you don't want to waste your ammunition early on before the crowd got, you know, really into the party.
Right. So like, you know, just to set the setting, like to really get people to understand what's going on. It's it's a barbecue. It's a party. It's whatever it is. There's the popular music that's going on. You know, people are dancing, partying, doing their thing, what have you, and then you get to this part where it's a switch, it's a change, right? And then there's a different set of people that come and take kind of prominence, the attention, and these are the B-boys and the B-girls, right? And then from there, that's a a notable difference in the music, in the way music is now presented or approached, or parties are approached as a DJ? Now you're noticing, man, when I do this, this happens. So now you say you want to strategically place that for that particular crew, which was different than what was happening before. And I think we've lost that part of what is hip hop. Like, what is it? And for me, it was always just it's a different bop. It's just a different energy. Yeah, I'm listening to my parents' music. I'm listening to what they do. But when my thing comes, which is halfway in the record or wherever it is, something different. That's just something that's,
Yeah, no, I mean, you're spot on. And as a DJ and, Theodore and any DJ, Jazzy, and any of these guys will tell you, it's your job to program and to make what's normal not normal. And you switch it up, you transform it, you make it yours, so that, when it comes to that, that little spot on the record, you already have an idea of how you're going to mix it up or cut it up or scratch it up. I wasn't a cutter or scratch. I was more of a mixer. But even as a mixer, you knew that you wanted to play those beats continuously over and over and over until you brought on the next record or whatever. So that part of the dynamic of DJing is a lost art form. I mean, there's many guys who still carry it forward and do it today and do it well. But, the younger guys who are, I don't even know if I see new DJs now. I mean, I see a couple young cats in Europe. I see some young female DJs that are just killing it. My son, Kyler, he's showing me these teenage girls that's just doing the turntablism thing, and they just killing it. Yeah. But I don't see a lot of young guys getting into the DJ craft like it used to be.
Yeah. Why do you think that is?
Because they're focused on one thing. They're focused on putting up a microphone and, talking on a mic. The DJ kind of started to get lost, I think, in the late 90s, because all the hip hop groups had their DJ on the set, on the stage. You remember those days?
Yeah. Like DJ was an important part of your set. You didn't really get respect unless you had a DJ on your set. Now
tell me how many of these guys you see with a DJ on stage with them these days, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
So it's kind of like, we need to have these conversations so that the young guys who are making these songs know that there's something about having a DJ on stage with you. It adds to your stage presence, right?
Yeah, that's no doubt. No, but I want to go back. Talk about some of these legendary park jams that you were a part of, that you witnessed. Like, what were they like?
So here's the thing. I know Flash, I know Bambaataa, I know Hurt. They're all good friends of mine. I love them dearly. But and I know DST or DXT.
Yeah.
We all came from different parts of the Bronx, and I know Breakout and Baron and all. We were all kind of competitive, but we were competitive because in our own neighborhoods, we were like the kings of that neighborhood, right? Right. So I would go to a Hurt party and see Hurt, play at, either like the Claremont Center or Executive Playhouse or the Hevelo. And then I would go over to, to see Bam. And I would go outside to see, Flash and his crew. So, we all went and looked at each other, maybe from afar, not to let them know that we were there, because we wanted to be a little, spying to see what they were playing kind of thing, But, the thing back then in the 70s, each neighborhood had its own gang, right? They were very protective.
Here we go.
Of that neighborhood.
Yeah.
So you had to be careful where you went, because if you went into the wrong neighborhood and they didn't like your crew, it could be a problem.
Well, now that you say that, I have this little conversation on Facebook going on right now about, gangsterism and its importance to the culture, and, from my experience, gangsterism and the things that came with it hurt the culture a lot. It put chains on the culture, in a big way. But other people feel that gangsterism is a necessary component of the culture, to be able to navigate the music industry and deal with, gangsters from other folks. You need that gangster edge. And you just brought up the idea of, these different sections, these different territories. So you kind of had to thug your way through to really get noticed. So in your opinion, where does gangsterism play in hip hop culture?
So there's no question that the street gangs of New York played a big role in the evolution of hip hop. But hip hop was really built on not killing each other, right? Not exploiting each other, right? It was built on peace, unity, love, and having fun. And the gangs back then, no doubt about it, they were at war with each other, and they would kill each other. But when hip hop started to come about through Africa Bambaataa and the Zulu Nation, the foundation, it became more of, we are a family and not in competition with each other.
Yeah.
We're not out here trying to destroy each other. We're out here trying to empower and uplift. So it moved from warring factions, this gang versus that gang, and it came together as one big family. And this is where the Zulu Nation played a very big role in bringing that harmony from the streets into the culture and moving that through in terms of a unified force. But as you said, gangs have all, been part of the commercialization of hip hop for many years. Now, some of it was the mafia, because the mafia controlled the distribution. And, Morris Levy, and, how he basically had a fist on whose record made it through and whose record didn't make it through. And this was the early days when Sugar Hill was just getting started, right? And then Sugar Hill kind of like opened up the door and allowed labels like Def Jam and Profile and Tommy Boy to come up, and gave us an opportunity to become independent entrepreneurs. I had Strong City Records with Jazzy J, so it wasn't an easy thing to break through, but because we were tied to the streets, we knew how to get our hustle on. Hip hop is all about the hustle. I don't care if you're a gangbanger or no gangbanger. It's all about being savvy and knowing how to get in front of people, and that's what we learned back in the days when we were just teenagers, getting started. We used to create the flyers. Right now it's social media, right? Yeah. Right. So, but the flyers was our social media. We would go to every club, print up about 10,000 flyers, and as people came out of the club, you would pass out the flyers to them to let them know that your party was coming up in a week or two. Promotions. And that's how we market our, we did a lot of marketing like that. So the people who learned how to do that, how to promote their own parties and how to create, fan bases and followings early on, they were able to carry that forward in the record business, as you said, Hakeem.
Yeah, got you. Just, growing up in Jersey, I was like in the 74, 75, I'm like 5-6 years old. So I'm like, not whatever. I catch on the, hip hop, the first, of course, Rapper's Delight, but the Crash Crew High Powered Rap was like one of my favorite joints. Super Rhymes was my favorite joint of all time. Rest in peace. Jimmy Spicer, no doubt. And I just looking at it from the mind of a, say, 10-year-old, 11-year-old, right? There was a creative energy, and then there was a more gangster energy, right? The gangster energy and the creative energy, for the most part, wasn't really married except for rap. Like, it was, people weren't talking about street stuff in their raps in 1980, 81, 82, 83.
No.
Like, we wasn't talking about, we was trying to talk about something else. If you were in the street, you were trying to see your way out of the street, right? They just, yeah, I mean, the crack came, and that had an influence, but I'm trying to put this in the best way possible.
No,
it just seemed that more times than not, the gangster shit just got in the way. It just got in the way,
Right.
It's just got in the way. And even corporate business is gangster in and of itself, but there's a culture within business that's not gangster. If you bring you can live for a little bit, but eventually the gangster shit catches up to you.
This is true.
That's kind of my take on it. But from your perspective, at what point did you see like the culture is more than what's happening on the street, and we can make something bigger out of this? At what point was that? What year would you say that was? What group would you say that was? What was happening at that time?
Listen, hats off to Russell and Rick Rubin, because I think they took the music side of hip hop to a completely new level. First with Curtis Blow, obviously the king of rap, and that's my guy. Curtis Blow was hip hop's first big superstar, and that was Russell's first big act. Yeah. And then after Curtis Blow, then came Run DMC, came Houdini, came LL Cool J.
LL Cool J.
And it was just on and on and on from that point. Yeah, he had a couple misses here and there, but Run DMC, LL Cool J, Curtis Blow, Houdini opened it up for everybody else to come afterwards, right? Yes, Sugar Hill Gang. Yes, Grandmaster Flash, Big Impact. Yes, So Sonic Force, big impact with Planet Rock.
Yeah,
no doubt about it. But those groups that I just named went to the top of the charts, right? Yeah. And blew the doors off, and really started to make a dent in radio, because again, the only thing that radio was playing back then were a lot of R&B, a little bit of disco now, because now disco's starting to die. It's the 80s. And the records that did make it from the streets were big records, right? Curtis Blow, The Breaks, Christmas Rapping, Sugar Hill Gang, Rapper's Delight, The Message, right? LL Cool J, Can't Live Without My Radio, Rock the Bells, One Love, Houdini. Once that happened, you could see that there was a shift happening in the culture and in the business of hip hop. You had the first big films that came out during the early 80s.
I was just about to ask you. Okay.
So,
but yeah,
Wild Style with Charlie Style,
right,
and then right after that, Harry Belafonte produced Beat Street,
and let's not forget about Style Wars as well.
And Style Wars, for people who, were following the graph artists. So, as it moved from the clubs up in the Bronx and in Harlem and started to move downtown, that's when the whites and everybody else started to absorb what was happening in the streets. And once the commingling between the black and brown and the whites and a few Asian kids that got into it early on, then the culture became colorful. And what I mean by colorful, now you could see it was taking on a more creative, artistic kind of growth.
Okay.
You had Keith Haring doing all kind of cool art.
And Basquiat, same
John
old.
Michael Basquiat and Fab Five Freddy.
Yeah.
You know, it just started to grow and evolve into something bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And once it started to mushroom like that, all eyes was on, what is this?
Yeah.
How can I make some money out of this? And good or bad, that's what started to happen. The advertisers got into it.
You know who I feel just does not get their enough flowers. They don't get enough respect. People who know, and they give him ultimate respect, but I just don't hear his name as much as Jazzy J.
My boy, Jazzy is one of the most incredible DJ producers, and his son. You know, his son is in a group called I forget the name of his group right now. It'll come to me anyway.
Okay.
Jazzy's young son has a band, and they're dope. Let me just say that.
Dope.
But Jazzy was instrumental in the whole creation of the Def Jam early days.
Yes.
He was actually supposed to be a partner with Russell and Rick.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, when Russell came on, it kind of like pushed Jazzy out because it was Jazzy and Rick Rubin first before Russell got involved.
Wow.
Right? It's Yours was on Rick Rubin's label, and then it became the first Def Jam record.
Yeah.
Right?
These stories give me goosebumps. Give me goosebumps. You talk about It's Yours, you know, and how did that record come together? Because there's some conflicting stories about what that record really is and who wrote it. How'd that come together?
Well, I don't know the whole mechanics of it. All I know is that Rick was so fascinated by what kids were doing in the parks. You know, what they were doing in the parks wasn't translating into the songs that people were making in terms of the first rap songs. The first rap songs were more like R&B songs. They weren't hardcore hip hop songs. Rick wanted hardcore hip hop. He didn't want R&B.
Yeah.
And that's
like the Curtis Blow, the Houdini. That was more of an R&B sound. That was more of a commercial rap sound, so to speak.
Grandmaster Flash, the Sugar Hill
Gang, Message, all that.
The Treacherous Three, the Fearless Four. They all had the cool vibe, but it was more melodic. It was more R&B, and not really just drums and hip hop and scratching. And that's what he wanted, and that's what he got out of It's Yours. Less melodic, really hard, crazy scratching with Jazzy on it, and just you know. It's Yours.
Wow, and that was on the Party Time label, right?
Correct, Party Time.
Wow.
Which then became Def Jam. So, you know, listen, Party Time was really something that Rick and Arthur Baker put together. Arthur Baker gave Rick Rubin the distribution because Rick didn't know anything about distribution at that time. And then Arthur Baker helped him with that. And then when Russell came, Russell bought the management and Rick bought the creative sound. And the two of them kind of like just hit it off, and the rest is history.
Wow. Yeah. So
but you know, unfortunately for Jazzy, you know, that's part of a dark spot in. I'm sure he would say the same thing in his own history, but you know, we did some phenomenal things with Strong City once he and I teamed up together.
Wow. What records came out of Strong City?
So Masters of Ceremonies.
Oh, come on!
Yeah,
you're supposed to know this, Hakeem. Oh man, yeah.
Yes.
Don Barron, Masters of Ceremonies, Maxwell,
Cracked Out, Dynamite, Redder's Posse, Don
Wow.
Barron.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, we had Busy B, Suicide.
Oh, damn.
And then we had the Ultimate Force with Diamond D. I'm Not Playing. You know, so
Wow.
you know, we had some good stuff, man, and we had a whole bunch of other songs that should have been bigger than they were, but you know, they were good on the underground.
Yeah.
And you know that you know, the Strong City days is both good and bad for both me and Jazzy. But you know, as young men coming up in the music business, you learn and you grow from your mistakes.
Because at this point, you're like your late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s. At what point?
No. We're in our 20s, brother.
20s, right?
20s. Yeah. So 1986, 87 is when Strong City came out.
20s. Right. Wow. Just learning the game.
Just learning the game. Running around with our, just living life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, knowing that we had something special.
Mm-hmm.
Strong City had a crazy logo, and you know, we were just competing with everybody else. We were just trying to do our thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but hats off to Cookie Gonzalez at 4th and Broadway and Kathy Jacobson that gave us our first big break, and then Gerald Busby, who helped us get Strong City distributed by MCA.
The great Gerald Busby.
It was a good run for us. We had a good time.
Wow. Now we got some legends in the building. Ralph McDaniels is in here.
Hey, what's up, Ralph?
Dr. Post a Lot, peace in the building. Got my regulars, Yulon. Thanks for supporting. Hassan Austin is in the building. Derek Simmons, my cousin Ed, Artie. Want to give everybody shouts out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They come through regularly. Jennifer, what's up? Tasha, I see you. Pearly, thank you for supporting. We in the building with Rocky Bucano. So I want to switch gears and talk about the Universal Hip Hop Museum, right? But I wanted to do it this part of the interview in a different way, because you've recently broken ground on it.
Yes.
Right. And I guess we first met maybe 5-6 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, something like that.
About something like that. And
when we were doing the NJ Pack stuff.
Exactly, right. And so, the vision, I got a glimpse of the vision. You guys had put a lot into it up until that point, but you're taking this vision and you're making it a reality. And that takes a lot of building, right? Building. So when you broke ground, I'm like, man, the Universal Hip Hop Museum is being built. Builders. Now, there's in hip hop, the 5% nation of gods and earths. Something happened. There you go. Back?
Yep, I'm here.
The 5% nation of gods and earths has a concept called building. So when it comes to the Universal Hip Hop Museum, let's build. All right. Number one is knowledge.
Yes.
The Universal Hip Hop Museum is important for knowledge because.
You want me to fill it in?
Yeah.
Okay. Listen, passing on to future generations the history of what we created, so that our nieces, nephews, and their children and their children's children know that this culture that has taken over the entire world was created by people who look like you and me, Hakim. Right? And we want to make sure that the stories of the people that created this culture are not only preserved, but told in the most authentic, with the most integrity, so that there can be no gray areas. This is the history, because we were the arbiters. We were there when it was done. We saw it. We're not telling it from a third person point of view. We're telling it because we were on scene. We witnessed it. So we have a lot of historians, a lot of people that's curators. Big shout out to Paradise Gray and Prime Minister Pete Nice and Ralph McDaniels and Martha Diaz and all the people that are working behind the scenes to help bring this big project together. But it's our responsibility to make sure that the history is documented, preserved, and celebrated so that it is etched in stone for generations to come. And then we can use our platform to create curriculum, because now hip hop in the classroom is becoming a real big thing. And I know that you are a teacher too, Hakim.
That's right. That's right. Yes,
right?
sir.
And you know, what hip hop does, it's aspirational. It inspires people to want to know more, right?
Yeah,
to learn more.
Yes,
and
sir.
when you do it the right way, kids, their antennas go up. They get all excited. They're like, wow, I never knew this.
Yeah.
I never knew that I could create this just by doing this. Or I didn't know that there was a business side to hip hop. All I knew was what I see on TV. I didn't know how to create a production schedule. I didn't know anything about mastering records or going into the studio or programming beats. I didn't know anything about publishing. I didn't know anything about makeup and artist development. All these things you got to learn if you're going to build something. And not only that, you know, the radio people, the people who did the club promotions and the concerts, the people who created the artwork, you know, everything has to come together and work in sync in order for something to be successful. And that's what you want to teach people. It didn't just happen like this. It wasn't just magic.
It's a process.
It's a process, right?
It's a process.
So, you know, that's what the museum will do in terms of passing on the knowledge.
Okay. Wisdom, right? Wisdom is a reflection. Wisdom is, you know, you have knowledge, but your ways and actions should reflect the knowledge, right? How does the museum represent wisdom? What's going to be in it?
So inside the museum, you know, we're going to have artifacts and memorabilia and historical pieces that will help tell the story of hip hop history from beginning to where we are today. As Paradise would say, you know, we're building a museum. We're not building a mausoleum, right? We're not just looking backwards on what has happened. We're looking at what is happening, because hip hop in its true form creates history every day.
That's right.
Right? So we are not just going to have stuff on the wall and say, you know, oh, look at that picture of Run DMC. No. That to me is the old way of museum curating.
Yeah.
Right? You have to have an experience. So when the kids come in there, they could feel what it was like to be back in the park jams. They could feel what it was like to be on tour
Interactive
with BDP or Curtis Blow or Queen Latifah.
Yeah.
Right? They could see what it was when the groups got up on stage and put on their outfits, their jackets, and their fashion. We want people to come out of there with a new level of understanding that hip hop is more than just what you hear on the radio. And that's what the museum will do in terms of wisdom.
Understanding, right? How like we talk about the missing pieces of the culture, like understanding who certain folks are, understanding how the culture was born out of a certain environment. We hear of different tragedies in our community, and we don't quite understand the conditions that these tragedies were born out of. You know, what is the museum going to do to foster understanding of each other as hip hoppers?
Yeah. So one of my big, and my team will tell you, you know, most people say, Rocky, just focus on what the museum should be doing and don't think about all this other stuff that you talk about. But the museum is more than a museum, because if the museum is not able to uplift the community that we serve, right, then we're not doing our job. So what I mean by that is we're going to talk about, you know, how corporations have not invested the way they should invest in Black and brown communities. It took the death of George Floyd for corporations to have a woke moment.
Yeah.
And then,
and there's been so many George Floyds.
So many.
Breonna Taylors, Sandra
Breonna
Bland,
Taylor. We
Tamir
could go
Rice.
on.
Like there's been so many.
We could go on and on and on. But it was something about George Floyd that made a whole new level of consciousness happen within corporate America. Now, we got to hold their feet to the fire because everyone is like following the leader, and they created these social justice funds. Oh, I got $100 million. We're going to invest in Black Lives Matter causes and this and that. And they don't do a damn thing. But as the Hip Hop Museum, our job is really to reinvest back into the community so that people have opportunities. And that's what we're going to fight for as an institution. We're not just going to be at the forefront of talking about the inside of the museum with the programming and the artifacts that we want people to come see, but we're going to create curriculum for schools. We're going to create job training programs. We actually just launched a new job search portal that will be announced shortly. It's called Hip Job Juice. So if you go to hipjobjuice.com,
there you go.
You'll see what we are doing.
Love it.
We're creating a job search platform for people who look like you and us, Hakeem.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Hip hop is in the building.
Because I'm tired of corporations saying, we got all these jobs and we can't find qualified people.
Got you. We got you.
Right?
We have a huge network. Hip hop is tapped in.
We got 1 million guys, and brothers and sisters in Chicago, Detroit, Atlanta, Los Angeles, who are creative out of their mind.
That's right.
Who can turn your company into one of the top selling companies of all time.
See, right there. That's when people talk, oh, what can we do? We got to do this. It's just simple things that you can do in your own space. That we talked about. The Universal Hip Hop Museum has a job search porthole called, one more time?
Hip Job Juice.
Hip Job Juice. And you can go post your listing and get connected with like that's immediate power. Just by networking. That's a beautiful thing, Rocky.
Yeah.
That's dope. So let's all right, finish your point. I'm sorry.
So, and then we got UHHM, UHHM Cares, where we're going to be talking about wellness and mental health issues. So I mean, we're doing some different things that nobody knows about, but they will know about it because that's our mission, is to inspire, empower, and promote understanding as a cultural institution.
Dope. Now, number 4 is culture freedom, which Universal Hip Hop Museum, how does it promote culture freedom?
Listen, to me, it's all about creative expression.
Yeah.
And we will never put bars or barriers in front of people's emotions or actions. The rap side of hip hop has been the storytelling of the community. When issues in the community are, having serious problems, whether it's lack of fairness with, the digital divide, or, the haves and the have-nots, police brutality, poverty, drug abuse, misogyny, whatever it is, we were able to use the culture to shine a light on it, so that it brought it to the world, and the world could see what was happening and how unfair things in our community were transpiring. Public Enemy, X-Clan, BDP, you know, now today's artists, Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole and a few others, you know, shine the light, or what we call the torch bearers. So to me, you know, cultural freedom is just a continuous evolving cycle where we continue to promote the democratization of voice. Right? The more we can give free expression and empower people to speak the truth to power.
That's right.
That to me is cultural freedom.
Yeah. You know, for me, the museum represents the greatest expression of culture freedom, in that it is it's the documentation and preservation of the living, breathing culture. You know, it helps us to see the past in a way to help us understand the present, to project for a future, right? So the museum, anytime you have, you know, an archival, you know, institution that's dedicated to archiving in real time and past time the culture, that is in and of itself culture freedom, especially when it's coming from us. We control it. You know, when you talk about the people involved with doing the research and providing the documentation, the archival images, the artifacts, and what have you, you know, these are our brothers and sisters from the culture, from the streets that we come from. So that, to me, in and of itself, is the greatest expression of culture freedom. Now we get to power. How does the Universal Hip Hop Museum represent power, Brother Rocky?
Well, we are the official record of hip hop, so that's power by itself.
That's power right there. Bow.
Right? But how do we create power? By providing opportunities for people to reinvent themselves. So the museum is going to create television shows, documentaries. We're going to be publishing books. We're going to be creating tours for artists to tour. We have a music festival coming up in May. It's a virtual music festival because we're still in COVID, but it's part of a grander vision where the museum will sit like a funnel, and all things hip hop it will be connected to. You know, so we want to work with everybody. We want to find a way to also help create. You know, I know Swiss Beats talked about this. A way to create a living fund, a living legends fund. Yeah. To help the icons who fall on hard times, so that they don't have to worry about getting health insurance or you know, having a way to pay bills if they, you know, are not able to, you know, pay their own living expenses. It won't be a pension of sorts. You know, I know people think pension, but it'd be a fund where people can tap in for emergency purposes. So that you know, when hard times comes, and they come all the time. That's right. You know, that the institution of hip hop will be there to support them.
The institution of hip hop. That's a beautiful phrase right there. I love that. Number 6 is equality. How does the Universal Hip Hop Museum breed and promote equality?
Well, first by, you know, making sure that we allow access to the culture, no matter who you are, on a global level, right? So for those people who may not be able to travel to the museum, you know, we'll make sure that our collections and our programming is accessible on the internet, so that, you know, no matter if you're in China, Japan, Brazil, Russia, Africa, wherever, but you're not able to make it to the United States to come to the Bronx to actually visit the museum, you still will be able to learn from our programming and our curriculums. The second way that we're going to promote equality is through hiring. We want to hire people right from the community and give them opportunities to participate and learn what museum curation is, learn what museum programming is and museum management, and provide internship opportunities for people to get a jump start on a career. So I mean, equality to me is just making sure that no one gets preferred treatment. We're not creating a museum just for a few select people. We're going to be telling the story about everybody, whether you're on the East Coast, the West Coast, Dirty South, overseas, Africa, China, Japan. If you're a content creator and you made some history, you will be in this museum in some form or fashion.
Yeah, to that point about the universal hip hop movement. Big shout out to Suzanne Burge. I see you, sister. Love you. DJ EFN from the Drink Champs, Nori's partner. Yeah. DJ EFN, right? He has a Who's Crazy. They have Crazy Hood, the documentary series coming home, and it looks at hip hop internationally. So they go to these different countries around the world to expose hip hop. And when they went to Vietnam, the cats that were in the hip hop out there were like, we don't even look at the United States for hip hop. We looked at China for hip hop.
Yep.
And so you have Japan is big on hip hop. China's big on hip hop. Vietnam, Korea, these different places are big on hip hop, but they think the United States is fronting on hip hop. No, they really do. They don't know they don't do hip hop no more.
Yeah. And you know what? To some extent, they're right.
Wow. That hurts.
It does hurt. It does hurt.
It's a gut punch.
But there are in the underground scene here in the US, what's not on radio, there's some real hip hop going on. There's some MC battles, right?
Oh, yeah.
Some rough, rugged MC battles happening.
Oh yeah.
Christy Z, Pop Master Fables.
They do DMC competitions all the time.
Right, she's doing the DMC thing.
Yeah.
Crash and there's a lot of street artists that have galleries now that are doing amazing mural, aerosol art and canvas and amazing stuff.
Hip hop, nobody rapping.
And and there are some b-boy competitions that happen, but nobody talks about them.
Yeah, right? I mean, big, huge b-boy competitions. We're not talking about just kid, and that's the most important when you see young folks just on their own doing their thing. Yeah, but we're also talking about 1,000-seater competitions.
I mean, Red Bull came in, and another corporation that came in and kind of took over and monetized the culture.
Yeah.
But they made it an international, sport. And from those b-boy battles all around the world, now look at it, the Olympics.
Yep, in 2024, breakdancing is an official Olympic event. Ladies and gentlemen, that's your culture, but you have to claim your culture.
Correct.
You have to claim equality to be a part of equality. All right. Now, before we leave equality, though, can you shout out some of the women that are involved with the Universal Hip Hop Museum?
Yes, so we have Martha Diaz. She is our director of education, and she's the founder of the Hip Hop Education Center. Nana Ashurst, she's our chairwoman. She's the chairwoman of the Board of Trustees, and she was the first and only woman president of Def Jam Records. Right? She helped get Def Comedy Jam started with Russell.
Salute.
So, she's got an amazing career. Renee Forster is our comms director. Tembisa Mshaka, who everyone knows.
That's right.
She's on our advisory board. And, we have cultural icons like Sha Rock and other people who, lend their voice whenever we need them. Roxanne Shante is a big supporter of the museum.
Yeah.
So, we have some very talented women that are part of our organization, and we love them all.
Okay. Well, that's equality, and I think it's a great transition, since we talked about women, to go to number 7, which is God. God. How is the Universal Hip Hop Museum an expression of God or God's power or God's reflection?
So this is an easy one.
Uh-huh.
God has been driving this project since the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, we could not be where we are without God's thumbprint on this project. You know, in the very beginning, before I met you, Hakeem, it was like pulling teeth to try to get anyone to even pay attention to what we were trying to do with this museum. You know, I keep telling people it was like the old trains where you had to throw the coal in the fire to create the steam so that the engine would even move. And that's what it felt like in the very beginning. But God said, you know what, stick with it. Don't worry about the naysayers and the doubters and the haters or whatever. You got something special here, but you got to put in the work. And once God saw that myself and the other people who are committed to this project were not going to give up and that we were going to stay the course, doors started to open. It was like parting the Red Sea kind of thing, right? And the non-believers became believers. And when I say the non-believers, even the elected officials. So once we got our first level of city funding and then the governor gave us funding, people were like, uh-oh, this thing is real. And then when we got our development team, which came out of the blue, we were looking at, first we were looking at the Kingsbridge Armory. That didn't work out. Then we were looking at another location, the Old Bronx Courthouse. That didn't work out. And about 2 weeks after I decided to move away from the courthouse, I got a phone call magically from our current developer, L&M Development Partners, and they were like, are you still looking for a location for your museum? I'm like, I am. He said, well, we have a possible opportunity that we want to speak to you about. And when they told me about the location, which is called the Lower Grand Concourse, which is right on the 145th Street Bridge, right on the Harlem River waterfront, 5 blocks south of Yankee Stadium, I had known that area intimately because I was the executive director of the Gauchos for 13 years, and that was right around the corner. So when they told me the location, I was like, you're kidding me, man.
Hold on a second. You were the executive director of the Gauchos for how many years?
13 years.
Can you explain to the folks out there and how important the Gauchos is to New York City, the nation basketball? Like the Gauchos is like, please talk about the Gauchos for a second. We're at God, by the way.
Yeah, yes. So the Gauchos is America's premier AAU basketball program. Mark Jackson, Stephon Marbury, Chris Mullen, Pearl Washington, Kemba Walker, Kyrie Irving, Taj Gibson, and then countless women that are playing in the WNBA. And that's just a few. I think they have over 40 former people that came out of the program that have either made it into the WNBA or the NBA. And we have hundreds more that are playing overseas. You know, so the Gauchos was formed by Lou Dalmeida. He came from Argentina, and he named the program Gauchos because in Argentina, the countrymen, the noble horsemen, were called Gauchos. And he wanted something recognizable for where, you know, for the country that he came from. And that's why the program is called Gauchos. But they have an amazing gym right there in the Mott Haven section of the Bronx. And we provide basketball, a basketball haven for kids who live in marginalized communities who may not be able to get into school just on their academic skills. but they can get into a top college because they're a hell of a basketball player.
Yeah.
And we've put many kids into top 10 Division I schools, and from that they've been able to have amazing careers. So I was there for 13 years.
Well, do you plan on having a athletic part to the museum as a part of hip hop culture? When you look at what hip hop is done in terms of the and one game,
yeah,
the street ball.
Listen, basketball and hip hop, in my opinion, is synonymous. And
come on,
Bobito will tell you that.
But also when you go back to Wild Style, and you had the Cold Crush versus was that the Fantastic Five?
Fantastic Five,
and it's amazing that they balling and rapping at the same time. And I don't know if it was editing or whatever, but it looked to me like they was hitting the shot. And I'm like, oh man, look at this. Grandmaster Cass got a little hook shot on him. Look at him.
So, basketball and hip hop are like brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
One can't go without the other.
That's for real.
Even when I was DJing as a teenager, my first passion was basketball. I spent hours on the basketball court, going from tournament to tournament to tournament to tournament.
Now, when I first met you over the phone, right? So I'm talking to you like it was a few months before we actually met in person. And then the brother's like 6'6", 6'7". So what are you, 6'6", 6'7"?
6'8".
6'8". Look at 6'8". So you in basketball, no wonder, of course. You look like a ball player off top.
Yeah.
Oh, and Doug Mills says, "What's up?" He gives you a big shout out.
Yeah, what up, Doug?
Yeah. That's my guy. Yes, sir.
So getting back to your question, so God has always been part of this journey, and God basically said to me that you're the one that needs to finish this project. You came from the culture. You've been successful in the culture. You've done all kinds of different things in your career. So you have the business acumen to actually pull it off. And I think that's why I've been so fortunate and blessed to get the project to where it is today. And I couldn't this could not have gotten done without God's input.
Right. It's all about God at the end of the day. Okay. We're at Build to Destroy. And you are literally building, hopefully to destroy negativity, I'm sure.
Well, listen, it's all about putting hip hop in the highest positive light possible. Sure, there are dark things about hip hop, misogyny that has to be addressed, and gang violence and drug use and all the different things that go along with the culture. But when you talk about the good things that came out of it, how it has created and transformed and saved people's lives. There's so many brothers and sisters that say, without hip hop, I don't know where I would be. So I know it saved KRS, your boy's life.
Yes, it did.
Took him from being homeless and gave him a platform to become who he is.
Yeah, that guy right there for me. If there was if you put rapper, you put MC, you put Rakim, you put LL. For me, if you put hip hop, you put KRS-One. He's a graph artist. He's an MC. He can DJ. He makes it a point to open up the floor for breakdancers. He definitely knowledge reigns supreme, so he's all about the knowledge element. He just makes it his business to promote the culture in all its forms. So big shout out to that brother.
Big shout out to KRS-One. He actually penned a manifesto for the museum. He did the first 40 pages, gave me the 40 pages and said, you guys got to finish it. I'm like, how are we going to finish what you started? But we love KRS. He's an amazing contributor and is one of the greatest MCs that will ever live.
Yeah, respect. That's no disrespect to anybody else, by the way. Me being an MC, like Chris is just at 55 years old, still spitting fire. I got a project that I'm working on right now. He did a song with me called The Cipher. And oh my God, it's just, it's all about hip hop with him. It's always hip hop, and I love that. So yeah. So we have build to destroy. We're building to destroy negativity, but I really the building part to it is the thing, because you're actually building. And if you can help the people understand the process of building this thing, like where you
Wow.
at?
So, as I said, this is a 10-year journey. You don't just have a museum, and you have four walls and you open up and you got artifacts. And no, you got to hire architects. You got to hire exhibit designers.
Yeah.
You got to hire mechanical engineers that know how to create the airflow, because if you're going to have all these rare artifacts, they got to be at a certain temperature. And the humidity has to be controlled. You have to have security systems. There has to be food vending in there. We're going to have a restaurant. We're talking to Nas about having a sweet chick restaurant inside the museum. There's going to be 2 theaters inside the museum. One theater is called a flexible theater that will be for live performances and showing films and documentaries and town hall meetings. And then there's another theater that we call the Hall of Respect, which is our version of the Hall of Fame. So we will be inducting people into the Hall of Respect.
Salute.
So that's our version of the Hall of Fame. We don't need the Hall of Fame anymore. We have our own. And just understanding the course on what it takes to create a structure is millions and millions of dollars. This is an $80 million project. So, we've already raised, upwards of $30 million, and with, on to raise the next, we're getting ready to launch a new capital campaign at the end of this month. And we hope everybody will participate in the capital campaign. Even if you donate $1, at least you say, I gave $1 to help get this project to the finish line. So
I got the homie Hassan Austin's in the building from Moving the Needle. You hear we talking? Rocky said we trying to raise some more capital. So Haas, I know you kind of got some feelers out there if you want to, stay in tune, bro.
Yep, I see. He said the Hall of Respect is right.
Yeah, it's wild.
We got that from a call that I did with Dr. Ben Chavis.
Yeah.
LL Cool J and Chuck D, and we were just, LL was talking about, that, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, doesn't do hip hop justice. And it's strange because now they just nominated him for being inducted into the Hall of Fame. So we'll see how that works out. But during that call, Dr. Ben Chavis said, we don't need a Hall of Fame. What hip hop needs is a hall of respect.
That is beautiful. I put up a post the other day, said that standards are like fences and gates. When lowered, you're open to theft. And hearing a name like Hall of Respect, immediately I think standard. You have to have a certain, anybody can't get in. You have to have a certain ethic about yourself, your character, your art form, and I think that's a beautiful thing, Rocky. That is dope.
And we're going to be putting together a committee, so I welcome you to be part of that committee.
Yes, sir. I would love to be. I'm honored. Thank you. Yeah.
We want to have women and men from every element involved in the committee process. So when we induct people, we are a body that is unified in who we induct into the Hall of Respect. And there will be no question about their contribution to the culture, because we will have the best of the best minds evaluating each person that gets inducted into the Hall of Respect. So you know, that's just another aspect of what we're creating with this museum. It's a lot of work to build something. And trust me, I've never been involved in a construction project in my life. I've never built anything other than a couple businesses, but an actual physical structure that's going to be up where where people will come through the doors and bring their kids and their families. One of my friends that I grew up with said, Rocky, he said, I don't think you understand what you're building, man. He said, you're building a museum. He said, that's like building the pyramids back.
Word is bond. That's true. That's where, like, it's building the pyramids. Yes, it is. No, I'm a Met, the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Like, I'm a fanatic when it comes to the Met. I've been that place too many times to count. The Museum of Natural History. Grew up every year. We would take multiple trips to the Museum of Natural History. Like, in terms of artifacts and the connection to history, documentation, being able to visually see, yourself, the reflection of yourself, your parents, your foreparents, and then it eliminates, controversy as to who did what did what was where, who was around. You get to see it, you get to see it in front of your face, and all that's so important. So, like, man, this is a breathtaking endeavor to watch you do it. So I can just imagine you being the guy, guiding this thing, of course, with the hand of God, Yeah, I can just only imagine, bro. Salute and hats off to you.
Can I share something with you on
Please,
the screen?
please.
So I'm going to share something, and this is I'm going to show you a little video. I shot this with my drone the other day.
Okay.
And I'm going to share with you. So we just started, and then let me see how I go back to here. I could share my screen, right?
I think you can. You should be able to.
Yeah. Let me see. Hold on. Where is it now? I think it's over here. Hold on. Oh, here it is. Can you see that? Let's see. Hold on. Yeah, there it is. All right. Let me get this over here. Share.
Oh, there we go. Add to stream. There you go. Yeah.
All right. Let me make it bigger. Hold on. So what you're seeing here, Hakeem, is my drone. And it's going to take you right where we're building it. You can actually start seeing the cranes and the drills right there.
Yeah.
And, I'm so excited because for like months, there was nothing happening on the land. And what you're going to see now is you're going to see activity. There's actually bulldozers now there. They've our development team put a security desk over here. This is all fenced off, and this is the Harlem River right here.
Wow.
That's Harlem across the way. Those brown buildings. That's Esplanade Gardens, and this is the 145th Street Bridge. But this is the land where the museum is going to be. So it's going to be an amazing thing to see the museum start to rise from this piece of barren land that has been vacant for so many years.
So wait, the Rucker Park is right across there, right?
So Rucker Park is a little bit uptown.
A little bit uptown. So if you crossed the 145th and went up?
Yep. If you cross 145th and went up to 155th.
155th, right.
That's where but this is where the museum is going to be, right here.
Right.
So now you got construction workers getting ready to start digging up the ground, and it's just an amazing thing to see. Happen.
I was trying to visualize, like, okay, on the Manhattan side driving, would I be able to see it across the river? Looking at what point would you be able to see it when it's finished?
Yeah, you'll be able to see it there.
Because I saw a rendering, and that building looks kind of tall there. How many stories we talking about?
Well, there's apartment buildings on top of the museum.
Got you.
557 units of affordable housing, and this right here, this this infrastructure on the top, that's the Major Deegan Expressway.
Oh, okay.
So we're right next to the highway.
Right next to the highway. You see really see it like, come out and make it.
And Yankee Stadium is not too far. So let me stop sharing my screen. How do I do that now?
Got you.
Oh, there we go. Beautiful. Stop the screen. There we go.
There we go. Man, that's dope. That is dope.
Man.
That is dope. That is dope.
So when you asked about building something, that's the antithesis of building. It's really starting from scratch. You see, there's nothing there now.
Yeah.
But in 3 years, we will have a museum of hip hop right on that land.
That's fly. That's fly. That is dope. Okay. So now we're at Born. Number 9, Born. When this baby's born, what's the feeling? What's the expectation? What's the
So the biggest hip hop party in the world. And I want everybody there. Melly Mel, Kaz, Hurt, Flash, Jay-Z, Latifah, Eminem, Crash, Chaos, Riff, Tacky 183, the Rock Steady crew. Everybody that's anybody in hip hop has to be there for the grand opening because we want to show the world that the home of hip hop is here
in the Bronx.
In the Bronx, where it all began.
That's dope.
And to me, that will be, I'm 61, so spending 10 years of my life, and by the time this museum opens, that will be another 4 years, another 3 years. So I'll be almost 65 by the time this museum opens.
Still a young man. Still a young man. Still a young man.
But it will be the final cherry on the top. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It'd be like, all right, we did our job. It's done. Now let's let everybody enjoy it.
Ralph McDaniel said it will add value to the community.
Yes, I mean, the reason why the city invested in this project, Hakeem, is we expect upwards of 1 to 1.5 million people coming to visit the museum each year. And we opened up an exhibit called the Revolution of Hip Hop, which is right across the street from where that lot that I just showed you. Okay. At this mall called the Bronx Terminal Market. And it's temporarily closed because of COVID. But when it was open, we opened last December, not this December that just passed, but before that. And it was open from December up until March, and that's when COVID broke out. But within 3 months of being open, we had more than 10,000 people come through. And they came from everywhere. I mean, everywhere. Mexico, Colombia, Panama, Spain, Africa, Russia, Italy, France, Germany, Switzerland, Japan. And every time we asked them, how did you hear about us? Well, they learned about us on social media. And then we said, is this your first time coming to the Bronx? And 9 times out of 10, it was their first time coming to the Bronx. Wow. And that's the power of hip hop. They would not have come uptown to the Bronx if we did not have a hip hop exhibit for them to come see. Yeah.
That the museum is going to be a destination spot for travelers. Everybody that comes to New York City, like, we got to go to see the Universal Hip Hop Museum. Got to go. Like, there's just that's going to be a date on everybody's schedule to go there.
And it's on the waterfront. So there's going to be a waterfront esplanade. restaurants. You know, so and Yankee Stadium is right up the street.
Righteous.
So you may go watch a baseball game,
righteous,
and then walk right down to the museum and hang out outside.
That is dope. That's dope. See, hip hop culture. Hip hop culture is so way more than rapping. Of course, I'm an MC. I appreciate rapping. I appreciate MCing, all that. Yeah, but hip hop is so much more than that, and we have to stop boxing it into just that. And you know, I think that you are just the museum just is the greatest expression of culture freedom. Like, this is what it's about. Look what they did. That's the template, you know, to scale in your own life, your own endeavor, your own projects. Replicate what this is in your own life, in your own endeavor. And you can tap into the museum itself and pick up skills and knowledge and techniques and networking. And man, this is awesome, bro. I'm so excited. So excited for hip hop. So excited for the Universal Hip Hop Museum. I'm so excited for the Bronx. I'm so excited for the country. This is amazing. And everybody needs to get there. I don't know how you do it, but make sure you get there. Rocky, can you tell people how to follow the movement and, you know, follow the growth and make sure they tap in? Because you have a lot going on with the museum even before it's actually built. There's so many things that you got going on program-wise.
Yeah, so the main thing is just they can go to our website, uhhm.org. They can follow us on social media. Instagram, it's at UHH Museum. That is the same for Twitter and for Facebook and for our Twitch channel, which we just launched a Twitch channel. So and our YouTube channel. But you know, the main platforms is, if you want to follow us, it's Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. It's at UHH Museum. And if anyone wants to, you know, send me an email, it's very simple. You can send it to rocky@uhhm.org.
That's dope.
And we appreciate all the support, because this project doesn't get done just by me. We have about 45 people who volunteer their time to help make this project happen.
Yeah. One last time, you want to shout out some of the other folks involved with the project?
Well, right there, that's my girl from Washington, D.C., Jennifer McZear. What up, Jen?
Hey, Jen.
Ralph McDaniels, Senyon Kelly, Keith Clinkscales, Michael Blake, Ed Young, Adam Silverstein, Mark Green, Ralph McDaniels, Ebro in the morning, Shawnee Culture, Reggie Peters, Paradise Gray, Martha Diaz, Robert Reed, our attorneys, our accountants, everybody. That my son Kyler, who runs the Instagram channel for us, Cordelia, Deidre Tate, Tambisa.
Hey. All my peoples.
There we go, baby.
Yeah.
Wait.
Who is your son? That's the Aquarius, right? He just had a birthday.
Yeah.
Tell him Team Aquarius in the building.
Team Aquarius, baby.
No doubt. Yo, Rocky, man, this has been an amazing interview, bro. I'm so glad you could make some time to sit down with Madism, and we got our full support, and you know, man,
this was a blast, baby.
Yes, sir. Okay, yo, this is your boy Hakeem Green, Channel Live and Direct, BDP all day, every day. All we do is spark Madism. Signing off with Rocky Bucano. Yo, we out of here. Peace.